everyone, and welcome to the Retirement Blueprint. I'm your host, Paul Gebhard, with my guest today, Mr. Tim Lofton. Welcome, Tim.
Hey, Paul.
How you doing?
Doing great.
I'm liking that jacket, brother.
Thanks.
Is it new?
It is brand spanking new. You like that?
I do.
Yeah.
I really do.
So I was inspired by watching Sports Center.
Yeah.
And I see those guys wear all those crazy. Now I didn't do like the bright purple pocket square with like the crazy colored shirt and no socks. But I thought for the most part, it's a pretty good look.
I love it, dude. It looks great on you. And hey, we have fun when we do money, right?
Yeah, well, that's what it's all about.
Shouldn't it be?
Yeah.
If it's not, they better get to it.
That's right.
That's what I'm saying. So let's get started on it, shall we?
Yeah.
Let's help the folks out today. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about our business owners. Let's open the show with that because, business owners deal with a lot, Tim. And, they want to do their business, whatever their business focus is. It doesn't matter if they own a restaurant. It doesn't matter if they're in the trades. They want to focus on that part of the business.
Right.
One of the things I always see is the neglect in the back office, right? Because they just don't have the time and energy to put into that.
Right.
Do you have services available to the small business owner in helping him prepare for his future as well, or her?
Well, Paul, I think for the most part, at least, and this is, again, almost 30 years of talking to small business owners, they typically do a really good job.
Yeah.
It's just the value of they don't have a lot of times, as we would think, traditional investments. Now, sometimes they do, but a lot of times the bulk of their savings is wrapped up in their business. It's in the real estate. It's in, maybe their clients or what they're going to physically sell someday to monetize and end up with this lump sum of money. The question that they often have is, how do I transition from what I know, which is, running a business and, paying off debt and, growing it, to, okay, now I have this money, how do I get income from it?
Right.
So we had a client come in not too long ago. They have done an amazing job in real estate. They have over 75 single-family homes that are rentals.
Wow.
Almost all paid off over a period of 25 years. I mean, what this man built is so impressive. But his question was, what happens when I don't want to do real estate anymore? A lot of times we think of, real estate as a retirement investment. We'll get it paid off and it'll give us this income and that's what we'll live on. But as you know, if you've ever owned retirement or own rental properties, it doesn't work that way.
Right.
You have people calling in the middle of the night because the water heater broke, and you have people that don't pay the rent, and you have lots of problems associated. Great investment, great way to grow wealth, but not necessarily something that people want to do in retirement, unless they just love it. And sometimes that's the case too.
Right.
So, the question is, once they get to a point of saying, I don't want to do this anymore, and that's when they show up in our office, right? They don't come in to kick the tires and say, hey, do you think this real estate thing works?
Right.
Heck yeah, it works. I mean, you've just built up a few $1 million net worth doing it. So it definitely works.
They're not looking for an affirmation. They're probably looking for an exit strategy.
No,
right?
They're looking for an exit strategy. They're looking for when I don't want to do this anymore, or I don't want to do this as much, which is a lot of times the case. Not that you have to. Now, some do. Some come in and want to go cold turkey. They want to sell everything. And they want to invest and get a stream of income. But a lot of times people aren't quite ready to do that. They want to have more time, they want to have less stress, and so maybe they want to sell half of their business or half of their real estate. The other thing that we run into a lot is there's kids involved a lot of times in small businesses, that the kids are looking for a way to take over the business. And how do you monetize that? In other words, how do the kids buy the business out in a way that allows the person that's selling the business to be able to then move forward with retirement and have the income and that type of thing? So those are a lot of the questions that we see presented in our office with small business owners, in helping them navigate the different processes and the different things that are available to them to create a retirement stream of income that is dependable and that will last, and then getting them comfortable with the idea of that plan, because it's so far outside of what they've done for the last 30 years, 40 years. in which, when we do something that we know how to do and we're very comfortable with it, it's very easy for us to look at the risk and say, oh, there's not a lot of risk in that. I mean, I can make an argument there's plenty of risk in real estate, right? Plenty of people have gone bankrupt with real estate. But if you're doing real estate, you feel very comfortable with that risk. So I would say it's more the mental transition for that business owner to say, okay, I'm going to let go. Like, I'm going to transition from something I know, something I've been successful in, because long term, I don't want to do this anymore.
Right.
And I have to put my trust in a team or in a plan. And that's where, we create that comfort level.
Yeah.
The same way that we create it for every retiree, and that is build them a plan. Build them a retirement blueprint.
Can I ask you something on that?
Sure.
Because it came to mind. Because you're talking about something that's near and dear to my heart. I was heavily involved in real estate investment all the time.
Right, yeah.
So let me ask you this. When they do that, when they come in to do this exit strategy and get ready for that next phase, they're transitioning, right? Do you find that a lot of them want to focus on additional accumulation? Or are they more interested in preservation or maybe even the distribution of those assets? What do you find most of those folks are going?
Yes.
I had a feeling.
Yes. So, as we've talked about in other segments, they kind of know what they want. They just don't know maybe how to put it into words.
Got it.
But what you've just described, they're looking for all three of those things. They're looking for a portion of it to create income that they can depend on, that is safe, and there's nothing without risk, but something that has very low risk associated with it. But they're also looking at the future. In many cases, they have more money than they need to just create income. That's where we talk about assigning those jobs to the dollars, to segment the money and say, okay, this is the money that we have to have today to create your income. This is the money that we might need in the future if we're going to, say, cover things down the road like long-term care or inflation. And then there's that third bucket that we always talk about, the extra bucket, that money can be growth. And so they can have all three. Obviously, it depends on the plan. It depends on the financial situation. But they can be in a position where they can transition and have all three of those things.
Right.
It's the mental part of getting away from something they know into something they don't know, and they get that comfort level through having a plan. Once they can see the plan, once they have a retirement blueprint in front of them, then it makes sense. Then they can trust it. But the idea of making a change is very scary for them.
Oh, absolutely.
It just is.
Yeah. So one of those guys is out there right now. One of those ladies, she's out there. She's thinking, how do I get one of those blueprints? What do I need to do?
All they have to do is come in and meet with us. One of the things that we do complimentary for the folks that come in and meet with us is we do a retirement blueprint. We put it up on our big screen in our conference room, and you can see your plan kind of come to life in a very easy to understand way. And that's one of the things that we like to provide. The second thing is that risk-alize report. We talk about that almost on every episode. Won the Nobel Prize for Economics, and that software will help give you a look at, when we're talking about solutions, how much risk are you willing to take? How much risk are you currently taking that maybe you don't even know about? And being able to see that risk in black and white so that you can understand it. A lot of times, Paul, people see that volatility in percentages, right? They'll say, well, the market could go up and down 10%, or account values could go up and down 10%. But that's not how people think about things when it comes to their investments or their money. They look at it in dollar amounts. So when you say 20% and I say $300,000, we may both be saying the same thing, but I can tell you that $300,000 means a lot more to that person than saying 20%.
That's a good point. It's a wonderful point, because we live in the dollars and cents.
We do.
Yeah.
We do. And knowing what that risk is worth it, and that's one of the things that we want to help people with.
And again, that review is complimentary. I've seen people charge $1,500 a session for that. Claim yours today. Pick up the phone, take action. Get to meet with Tim. Let him get to know you. Let them listen to what your goals are and put them to work. 855-684-3485. We got to take a quick break, but we'll be right back after these messages.
As you prepare for, transition into, and navigate retirement, there's one thing you're sure to have: questions. Lots of questions about retirement. Like, when can I retire? Will I run out of money? Who pays for nursing home care? And many, many more.
Axum Planning and Wealth Management uses the Beta Blueprint retirement planning software to help answer your questions.
This program takes stacks of documents from every area of your financial life and converts them into one large picture. Just as you would never buy a house without seeing it first, why would you ever retire without being able to visualize it? By being able to see the whole picture, you can then make better decisions about your retirement. First, the blueprint looks at your top goals and concerns. Then, we look at your age and the trigger age decisions you have to make, like when to take Social Security, Medicare, and required minimum distributions. Next, we analyze your fixed income streams and compare that to your retirement lifestyle. For most people, their lifestyle exceeds their income, so we determine which assets to tap to make up the difference. When looking at assets, there are 3 key numbers we want you to know. The first number is the risk score of what you own. Every investor has a risk tolerance, and every investment has a risk score. The risk scale runs from 1 to 99, and the S&P 500 has a score of 78. We use a scientific framework that won the Nobel Prize for Economics for its ability to identify true risk tolerance. If you were taking too much risk, when would you want to know? The second number we want to know is the maximum drawdown of what you own. Maximum drawdown is the maximum loss from a market peak to a market trough. The maximum drawdown of the S&P 500 in 2008 was about 51%. What was the maximum drawdown of what you own? And the third number is your annual withdrawal rate percent. If you're taking too much here, you could run out of money. Finally, we look at your insurance and long-term care. Do you have life insurance? If so, what type, and does it expire? We analyze the income reduction from losing a spouse. We want to know if the surviving spouse will be protected. Have you planned for long-term care? Do you know all your health care options? Being able to put all this information in picture format is like watching holistic planning come to life. Your financial picture helps us identify the potential cracks and red flags in your overall retirement plan. Remember, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Discover the power of the picture for your retirement. Learn how to get a blueprint of your life.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Retirement Blueprint. I'm your host, Paul Gebhard, with my guest today, Mr. Tim Lofton. Tim, I got to tell you, I'm really having a good time talking about these things in retirement. I love the real estate transition into a normal income because transitioning is a nerve-wracking process for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And
especially business owners.
Yeah, especially business owners.
Especially business owners.
But, my heart goes out to the individual out there that says, hey, Paul, I got a 401k. I mean, how do I take my 401k and transition it into an income? Mm-hmm. That's a good question, right?
That's a great question. And the question I think that most people are asking when they come into the office. Mm. We see the accumulation years, and you see these people that have absolutely done a great job. I mean, that's the thing that I'm always blown away about. And I understand, obviously, the people who haven't saved don't come in and see us. Okay, I mean, I understand that. But when you look at the statistics out there of, our country and, this large percentage of the population that doesn't save, we don't really see that. I mean, we see people that have done a pretty good job. I also think that a lot of times it's lost on folks what the value of these benefits that they already have are worth. The actual dollar value. You look at Social Security, that's the equivalence of having almost $1 million saved for that lifetime income. Or a pension, a lot of times $1 million, $1.5 million, $2 million equivalent if they were to try and reproduce that same income. Yeah. That's how much they would have to have. And so a lot of times people don't view their net worth as really what it is relative to the benefit they're getting. Does that make sense?
No, it makes total sense. And it's interesting you bring up that point. I was reading an article the other day. It was talking about like the equity in their homes. They don't realize.
Yeah.
I guess the equity in the primary home they were equating to 66% of their retirement will come from that. That's a lot.
I come from a little bit different line of thinking. Most of the time when one of the questions that we always ask is, are you planning on downsizing?
Yeah.
Are you planning on, making a change? What does that look like? And most people say, yeah, we're looking at downsizing. The difference is today, when they downsize, while the space may get smaller, the cost of the space stays the same. So they sell the $250,000 ranch house, and they buy a smaller $250,000 ranch house.
Right.
It's updated, it's newer, but they didn't really end up with a lot of extra money. Now, that's not always the case, and we certainly have people that do sell a more expensive home and they buy something less, but usually not.
Yeah.
Usually their income dependent on what they've saved.
Gotcha.
That's typically what we've seen in the office.
All right. So back to the person who wants to take that 401k and convert it to an income.
So the first thing is with their plan is identifying how much do they need and what for, and then how long do we need to make that last. And what I mean by that is, sometimes we have cash flow items that are shorter term in nature, and sometimes we have cash flow items that are lifetime in nature. So putting all that together, the next step is then how do we recreate that? A lot of times we're utilizing a personal pension. That is probably the most used item today when you're looking at how do I get a guaranteed income flow with low risk. That is a way to do it, is creating that personal pension. And then there's other ways that I've seen our wealth management team use that are just kind of outside the box thinking. What the perfect fit is for our viewers at home, we have no idea. The only way we can find that out is for them to come in and sit down with us.
That's so true, so true. To get that individual retirement blueprint.
Yes.
Right? I heard you talk a little bit about, what you call it, the Riskalyzer?
Riskalyze.
Yeah, the Riskalyze. So is that much like a forecasting tool where you can actually show them what their plan would look like some point in the future?
There is a piece of that does forecasting. That we've talked in the past about the Monte Carlo simulation, and it basically looks. Oh, I just dropped my pen.
That's good.
That happens now. People say, "Oh my gosh, like
it's live."
It's live. Like I dropped my pen. I don't know where it goes. But the way that people look at that Monte Carlo simulation sometimes is with too much dependency. It'll say, if you do this and this happens, you've got a 95% chance of success. Well, the problem is, well, what if that 5% happens?
Right.
And that happens in my lifetime, what happens then? So forecasting, we think, is important. It's certainly part of the plan that we look at. But what's more important is to understand the risk. A lot of times, Monte Carlo is perfect for saying if you average 6% a year, what in the world averages 6% a year?
Right.
Certainly not the markets.
No.
I mean, they go up 15 and down 15 and down 13 and then up 6 and then down 22 and then up 37. That's what happens.
Yeah.
If I'm using an average of 6, but based on those types of things and I'm taking income out, it's a totally different experience. And so forecasting, I don't think, is as important as understanding the actual risk that someone is taking in getting those results.
Excellent.
And then the other question is, how much risk do they have to take?
Right.
We all have to take some risk,
Right.
but understanding where you can fit in to maximize and get the most upside with the least amount of downside, that's where people want to end up.
Good stuff.
Right.
Wonderful stuff. And again, the phones are going crazy, but there's a few spots remaining. Would you remind everyone out there what you're offering today if they reach out and call you, Tim?
Yeah. So again, you get the blueprint planning sheet that we get to take that 3-ring binder you have, put it up on the screen in one piece of paper, and really show you what your retirement looks like, plus the Riskalyze report that we just talked about.
That's good stuff. And again, it's complimentary. And I've seen people charge upwards of $1,500 for sessions like these because it's about you. There's time and energy and resources to go into you, your plan, your financial future, the business of your retirement. Your CEO. You heard him say it. The key is what you do now. Pick up the phone, give them a call. 855-684-3485. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after these messages.
When was the last time you saw your financial professional? Are you getting the most out of the strategy that was created for you? Although you've done a great job finding someone to help plan for your future, are you 100% sure that you were given the right strategy? We can help answer these questions and more with a complimentary second opinion evaluation. We will take a look at what you have in place and then help determine if you're well positioned to get the most out of your future retirement income. In the event that it is not, we can help by making suggestions and showing you how to get on the right path. You wouldn't get just one opinion when it comes to a major health decision, so why would you treat your most important financial decision with such disregard? Call today for your no-cost, no-obligation second opinion evaluation to see if you're getting the most out of your retirement income plan.
The Retirement Blueprint. And again, I'm your host, Paul Gebhard, with my guest today, Mr. Tim Lofton. Tim, great stuff on income, talking retirement. I wanted to come back, because we talked a little bit about the business owner. We talked about income ideas for individuals and 401k. Let's talk about taxes. And the reason I want to come back on taxes again is because I think so much of us get kind of programmed in our working years, the W-2 years, I call them, where, you know, every year you're getting your paycheck, they're taking your taxes, your Social Security and stuff out, right? And you take your information and you go see your accountant or your CPA and they do your tax preparation, right?
Right.
And you get in this habit as the individual for 10, 15, 20, 30 years. But then you get closer to retirement and you may not have had the opportunity to build a tax plan. How important is it for folks to understand, and how much can it potentially impact their nest egg by not having a tax plan?
Well, you know, Paul, it's a great point. I mean, for the folks that are getting ready to retire, they lived through part of that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the 70s and the early 80s, tax rates were 50%.
Yeah.
I mean, we had crazy inflation, you know, things. You know, it's lost today, I think, on homeowners that are saying, you know, oh my gosh, like I had to pay 3.5% instead of 2.99 on my interest rate. Understand, you know, people couldn't imagine buying a house and not having a double-digit interest rate on their home loan.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a thing.
Yeah.
And so, you know, when we start talking about the impact of taxes, that's another one of those things where we have to look through that future lens. We can't just base taxes on what we know today. We have to put something in there that allows for that ebb and flow of taxation. We've been in the lowest tax environment ever in history. And, you know, it only makes sense that taxes could creep up from here. And so we have to incorporate that in the plan. You know, as we were talking about the business owner transitioning, you know, one of the biggest questions and biggest concerns they have is, when I sell my business, I'm not going to get what the value of my business is. I'm going to get the amount after taxes.
Right.
And I remind them that's no different than the person with that 401k. You have a 401k, and we've been lulled into this sense of comfort of saying, I've got $1 million in my IRA. Well, you really don't.
Yeah.
Like, that's what the statement value is. But if you took all that money out, you got about $650,000 in your IRA.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, business owners they're like, oh, well, I didn't really think about that. It's like, well, it's the same thing. I mean, we deal in the world of net income.
Right.
That's where retirees deal. Net income. How much do I have to take out to get to that net income is absolutely something that we have to talk about in that plan, because it can be a big difference, which means that we have to be very strategic about where we take income from. What are the best places to take it? How do we want to take it? Whether it's, you know, from an area that might be tax-free or tax-deferred, that's a big difference, where one, we're going to have to take out a lot bigger number to get to our net number, versus one, we take out the number and it is what we get, right?
Yeah. I was going to ask you, we hear tax-free a lot, but once you get to the accumulation side and you've built up your 401ks or your IRAs, or maybe you have a pension, or whatever the case may be, and you get into retirement, you're not making money anymore. And let's say you don't have an income. Theoretically, you think your income tax bracket's going to go down.
Right.
Right. But then you realize, wait a minute, I've got taxes on all these things I got to start taking income on.
Right.
And that's when it kind of hits you, you know? So you're talking about the importance of planning ahead. But if we don't do that, I mean, we run the risk of basically putting ourselves in a hole that we didn't plan for, right?
Exactly.
So to that point, we hear people talk a lot about tax-free, a lot. You hear that. But is there truly vehicles available to folks that can put them in tax-free buckets when they get to retirement?
Absolutely. So there's multiple areas that create tax-free income. I mean, truly tax-free income. One is a Roth IRA. We've talked about that on previous segments. That the income that comes out is literally state and federal tax-free. Life insurance can be set up in a way to produce tax-free income. Municipal bonds issued by, municipalities, that income can be tax-free if you buy one that's in the same state that you live in. In other words, if you buy an Ohio bond, it's Ohio state and tax-free and federal tax-free. So there's definitely areas that you can take advantage of. The problem is, for most people, they didn't know. We were told, save all this money tax deferred.
Yes.
And that's what's gotten us into trouble. Now our biggest investment has the biggest tax bill associated with it.
And all the more reason why having that tax plan now.
Yes.
Changing our mindsets now and being ready.
Because it's fixable. It's absolutely fixable.
Yep.
And looking out at the required minimum distribution planning that we do, because we're looking out at age 80, age 90, and how do we fix that today?
Right.
And so that's another reason for people to come see us.
That's right. The power of now, today.
Yes.
You taking action can make all the difference. And how much does it impact your nest egg? Is it 5%? Is it as much as 50%? I don't know. It's up to you to find out. That's why it's important for you to reach out today. Take advantage of the complimentary review. Get your blueprint. Let Tim and his team get to know you and help build it around your goals, your hopes and dreams. What your tomorrow looks like depends on what you do today. Pick up the phone, 855-684-3485. Thank you for being with us. Be well and enjoy your retirement.